Okay. How y'all feeling? This might be everyone. We got 10 online, 2, 4, 6, 8 in here. Wow. Good job, y'all. Really want to learn. More people? Hey. It's like the getting ready for our alumni mixer. I have a date, which I'll send y'all a real invitation, but February 7th, it's a Thursday. I want like a collab in the lab, alumni sesh here at Zoo Lab. So look out for that invite. Thursday night, that's when Dave and Vinny like to do it. That's why it's a few months away. Awesome. Well, what do you think, Michael?
I'm ready to go. We can just, people pop in, they can pop in and whatnot. That's fine. But yeah, we can just get started.
I'm down for that. Y'all are so punctual. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to hide this, and then let's get started.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you guys for having me. This is going to be a fun. This is actually my first time presenting on something like this. So it'll be interesting when I have to call on you guys. So just by a show of hands, how many of you guys have heard of or are familiar with to any degree music licensing? Okay. So kind of those are like half hands. So have any of you guys had any of your songs placed on a show or a film or anything like that? If any of you have, just raise your hand. Oh, right on. Okay. Can I ask you what it was in the front row with the light blue?
My first one was 2011. Was on One Tree Hill, and then the next week was 90210, and then the next week was Royal Pains, and then I put out a record in April, and I just kind of started getting licenses right away.
Oh, right on.
So I've licensed ever since, but it's been 9 years since I put out a record, and I'm about to put out another one, so I know the atmosphere has changed a bit. And prices for licenses have dropped, so I'm like, there's got to be other ways to make money. But,
Well, 2011. Okay, I started doing this in 2004. So I also saw another hand all the way in the back row, I think.
Yeah, I've gotten licensing for some video games in the past, around 2012. And also for a pretty prevalent podcast recently with some acapella music that I did with another person that's actually on this.
Oh, very, very cool. That's awesome. And was there a third hand that went up?
I manage a band that has gotten several placements. We've gotten placements in this Australian TV show and a bunch of MTV stuff, and then also in that show Dynasty on CW.
Oh, right on. Okay, cool. Well, this is awesome. I'm glad that I think there's a virtual hand up here too. Mike Laglia. I just wanted to get an idea of if everyone was starting from scratch or what everyone's experience has been. And I'll give you a little bit of my story, and then I'll take you through the process that I've used. I'm right at around 2,200 placements now. Like I said, I've been doing it since about 2004. I moved out to Los Angeles in 2003, and I was always just a guitar player, growing up playing in rock bands and whatnot, and wrote a lot of rock and pop tunes over the years, and moved out to Los Angeles. I grew up in a small town in upstate New York. I did a little pit stop. Oh yeah, you too? What part?
Near Utica.
Okay, yeah, you're way up there.
Yeah.
Okay. I was in Woodstock. Born in Poughkeepsie, raised in Woodstock. But
there's 3 upstate New Yorkers here.
Oh, really? Oh, right on. Oh, very cool. All right. So I moved out to Los Angeles, and I knew I wanted to get into that world. Of course, I was doing the band thing and that whole deal. But it became apparent real quick to me all the opportunities with licensing. You know, I got turned down by every publisher, and I mean, you know, I got rejected by every publisher, which is really interesting because I was having a lot of success licensing my music to these TV shows, and it happened really quick for me. What was very interesting is along the way, I just started formulating. I'm one of those guys where I just kind of jump. That's kind of my whole philosophy. Just jump, and you know, the next. And then, you know, sometimes, you know, you make some mistakes and you get feedback and you make a correction and then you jump again and you see what results you get. So that was really my initial approach. And so I made a lot of mistakes starting off, and then I had some successes. And every time I had a success, I would figure out what was working, and I'd start repeating that. And ultimately, along the way, I just realized that every song that I got placed that was a successful placement followed 4 steps. And I'm pretty analytical too. So I realized that after I write the song and produce it, each song goes through 4 steps. And if I take each song through those 4 steps, not only will I get a placement usually, but I'll get consistent placement. And that's basically how I've been able to, you know, build my career. So I've had music on over 700 episodes of TV. I had a Super Bowl ad earlier this year for the Jack Ryan series on Amazon Prime. I did the trailer for that. I did the trailer for which is just in the movie theaters this summer. And, you know, a lot of other stuff along the way. But so I'll just tell you what's worked for me, and hopefully you can take this and start implementing it into your own career. And if you follow the process, though, it works. In fact, I'm actually going to start with this. I got to show you this. I got this email yesterday, and it excited me, so I screenshot it. I'll show it to you, but you're not going to be able to read it, but just so you see it's there. And I got an email from this guy who I've met 2 or 3 times. And he came to my studio one time, and he spent about half a day here, and I took him through my whole process. And he wrote me, he said, you know, hey, how's everything going, whatever. I wanted to write you and say thank you. I know we've only hung out a couple times, but for those hangs, blah, blah, blah. Really opened my eyes to the different avenues that are available to make a living in music. I landed my first 5-figure license a couple weeks ago. And I have a couple more tracks that are in the running, so great opportunity, blah, blah, blah. So his first 5-figure license in basically about a year of doing it, you know. I thought that was pretty good. Anyway, figured I'd change. So if you have any questions at any point, raise your hand, and if I see a virtual hand go up in the chat, I'll answer that as well. If I don't see it go up, just, you know, let me know it's there. So the process that I've learned that works for me and that's worked for a lot of the people that I've worked with is just 4 steps. And you can write these down if you'd like. But the first step, and I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll break them down for you. Okay? The first step is what I just call building your catalog. And what I mean by that is I see a lot of people chasing opportunities, you know. They're chasing what a music supervisor requested, or they're trying to get on all these lists. They're trying to subscribe to these lists, you know, what some music supervisor is looking for. You know, they're looking for a song in the style of Adele, so I have to start writing music in the style of Adele. Oh my gosh, now they've changed the words. Now they want something like John Mayer. You know, whatever. And that's a path that I actually don't agree with. And it's not a path that I've walked down, because I don't believe that you should be chasing the opportunities. I think that when you do that, I think you're honestly selling yourself short as an artist. And I can tell you that after doing this for as long as I have, if I had to come into my studio every day and just chase after opportunities, I would burn out. So one of the things that I try and encourage artists to do, and it's the first step of my process, is to what I just call, build your catalog. Just write the music that you're passionate about writing. When you write music that you're passionate about writing, it's just part of the human element, the emotion and all that. That's going to come across on the recording. It's going to come across even more when you sync it to picture, right? The songs that have the most success are not, these contrived tracks. They're songs that were genuinely written by the artist to, be their artistic endeavor. And they work with the scene because they have that emotional element to it. So really the first part of my process is don't go chasing after what you think is going to work. Write the music you're passionate about. There will be homes for it. I've had some of the dumbest tracks I've ever written in my life that I thought were garbage. I was co-writing with people, and I just kept going along with it because I didn't want to rock the boat or anything like that. Those turned into some of our biggest placements. And I'd be embarrassed to release it on a CD, but it turned out to be some of our biggest placements because the person who was singing it was so, passionate about what they were doing, even though I thought that the lyrics were garbage and this and that. Those are lessons I learned early. Write the music you're passionate about. The placements will happen, all right? The second part of the process is what I call creating valuable constants. Now, this is steps 2 and 3 are the steps that I've learned that most artists get, right? Most artists finish a song and then they send it out to a music supervisor or whoever they're interviewing with. And they skip steps 2 and 3. And 2 and 3 are the steps that add the incredible value to your catalog that will allow you to get consistent placements. It's not hard to get 1 or 2 placements or 3 or 4 placements. The thing that's difficult is the consistent placement. And steps 2 and 3, that's what's going to get you the consistent placement. So step 2 is what I call creating valuable content. And this happens right when you're done with your mix. Okay? When you're finished with your mix, most artists burn their full mix and then they burn their instrumental mix. And then a lot of them call it a day. And then they go and they get their album pressed. But the valuable content that you can create goes much further than the full mix and the instrumental mix. Okay? So for example, let's say you have a song that's bass, drums, electric guitar, acoustic guitar, we'll say piano, and we'll say like synthesizers or maybe strings and whatnot, and then vocals. Okay, so like a full production. Obviously the full mix is going to be everything. The instrumental mix, you take the vocals off and the background vocals off. But we can go a lot deeper into this mix now. What we could do is we could take off, say, just the electric guitar and the strings, so that we have drums, bass, piano, acoustic guitar, and vocals, and we can call that a stripped down mix. You could take off the drums and the bass and pretty much everything but the acoustic guitar and the piano, so acoustic guitar, piano, and vocals, and you can call that an acoustic mix, right? So it's not a different song, but what you're doing is you're giving your editor, the music editor, a lot more options to choose from when he's using your song in the scene. There might be a part of the scene where he just wants something that's acoustic, and then he wants to fade it into the full band thing after, maybe after the characters have their main dialogue. And when you include those extra mixes, you just allow yourself a lot more opportunities to play it. So I'll give you a great example. I did a 4-song EP with an artist, a female artist, recently, where I just wrote and produced 4 songs with her. And those 4 songs have generated so far 52 placements. And one song in particular has like 30 some odd placements. I forgot what the exact number is. But out of those placements, 14 of them were on The Voice. Prime time, I think that's on NBC. Prime time, NBC, local placement. But here's the thing that's interesting about that. Out of those 14 placements, only 6 were the actual full mix. The other 8 placements were the other versions, the stripped down and the instrumental, stripped down the acoustic mix. Those pay the same. It still pays the featured vocal placement, right? But by adding those extra, what I call valuable content, by giving the editors that extra valuable content, that's 8 more placements that we get income from. You get the sync licenses, and you also get back in royalties, right? So step 2 is to dive into your song and start picking out all the other little mixes that you can hear. I've been mixing music for a long time, and I'll sit here and I'll be mixing the track, and maybe it comes to a certain section, and I'll mute something if I'm working on an EQ. You guys know how that works. And you just hear something go, oh, that's actually really cool. Well, normally if you're doing an artist album, you have that cool moment and you experience it in the studio, you experience it with yourself and the other people, but you know that that's never going to end up on the final mix, right? But with TV and film placements, that can become its own mix. If you never an instrument you stripped out and you say, "Oh, it's really cool either without it," or however you did it, that can become its own mix. So, for example, let's say you do a 10-song record. If you can generate 4 or 5 or 6 alternate mixes, okay, let's say for simple math, let's say 5 other mixes. You have your full mix, and then you have your instrumental, you have the stripped down mix. You can even do, if it's a cool, drum and bass groove, you can even do like a drum and bass groove mix, etc. You can do 5 other mixes. That gives you a total of 6 mixes per song, which means that on your 10-song album, you have 60 licensable tracks that can all be out there generating income for you in the licensing world. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if that makes sense. Okay. If you have a question. Yeah.
When you're mastering everything when you master those, does your mastering engineer just like batch do that, or does he charge you like per mix, or is there a way?
This is an awesome question. Yeah. This comes up more. This is like the question I get. I get this question, and I also get questions about copyright. Here's what I would tell you to do. This is what I do. If you're an artist and you're making a record and you're actually going to release that record to the public, then take that full mix and go get that full mix mastered. Have all your songs mastered just like you would on a normal CD. Okay. This should not interrupt that process. The versions that I send in are actually not mastered in the traditional sense that you're thinking of. In the traditional sense of mastering is meant to take all the songs that are on a record and EQ them and get all the levels the same so that when you listen to that album, it's basically a continuous listening experience, right? You're having one song at this level and then another song at this level and different EQs. The mastering makes them done. In the licensing world, the chances of you having one of your songs in between 2 other songs on a TV show what would that be? The chance would be astronomically low, right? It would probably never happen. So the mastering doesn't matter because really your song is going to be sandwiched in between a song that was written by a guy in Australia and a song written by someone in Podunk, Iowa, right? So when it comes to that element, for me, I actually run everything through a mastering plugin that I put on the master fader. So it's not mastering for an album, but I master everything through a plugin called Ozone. And that way, all the full mix, the instrumental mix, all the other mixes, the stems, everything is the same. They all sound the same, and they can be, edited between each other. They're not going to sound different. The version that would go on a CD would actually be a mastered version because the CD is a completely different outlet. Your end users on a CD are going to be people listening to your record in a car, sitting in traffic, focused on music. The people who are your end users for your songs are going to be editors, music supervisors, music libraries, employees of music libraries who are searching for a specific song that will fit a specific criteria that someone's looking for a specific scene. So the mastering doesn't matter because the sound mixer who mixes that show, he's going to be doing his thing to it in relation to all the dialogue and all the sound design, and then the track before it, and the track after it, and whatnot. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so continuing on with step 2, it goes a little further. Along with the value, with what I call the valuable content, with those alternate, you should always have your mix engineer burn stems for you. Okay, I'll tell you why this is important. I'll tell you why in a second. Let me go to the last one before I forget it. So stems, if anyone doesn't know what stem mixes are, real quick, a stem mix would simply just be a stereo mix of each instrument grouping. So going back to that example, drums, the track had drums, bass, guitar, electric guitar, acoustic instruments and whatnot. drums, let's say the drum has, drums are like 12 tracks. You open up Pro Tools, the drums are going to have 12 tracks. A drum stem would simply be all those drums mixed down into a stereo track with the reverb and all the levels and the panning that you have in the main mix, right? You then do a guitar stem, and the guitar stem could be all the electric guitars, basically just soloed, keeping their respective panning and the levels and the automation and all that. You'd have your background vocal stem, maybe your keyboard stem, or basically it's just a stereo grouping of the elements that are in the instruments that are in your song. And the reason why you do this is because music editors oftentimes will grab stems. Because let's say, for example, they want to have your vocal, the vocal is great in the track, but the vocal's sitting too hot and it's interfering with the dialogue. So they can grab those stems, they can pull it in, they can adjust that vocal level how they need. Have the band track sitting in there, exactly how they want it. They can pull that vocal level down. After that dialogue ends, then they can ramp up that vocal level. So you're giving them more control over how the audio sits in the scene. And stems, I've never done a commercial where they've never asked for stems, or where when I actually watch the commercial where it's not a different mix than my full mix, tells me that they're using the stems. I've talked to a lot of music editors over the years who, they pull stems all the time and they create their own mixes. So stem mixes are essential. Always burn stem mixes. Even if you don't ever get them used, it's just good to have. And you'll be surprised when you start really diving into licensing, your stem mixes will pay off dividends for you. And then the last type of valuable content are cut-down mixes. And those are your 15, your 30, and your 60-second mixes. These are ideal for commercial placements. Now, not every song, obviously, is going to be ideal for a commercial. That's really something you just have to, decide for yourself. Not every song is conducive to certain cut-down mixes. I've tried to cut certain songs down to 15 seconds. It sounds ridiculous. It's just not going to happen. But I always try and give them as many cut-downs as I can. If I can give it 15, if I can give it 30, and if I can give it 60, then great. Now, here's the thing with those. I've never had one used, ever, but those are basically the audition pieces that will end up getting the commercial for you. But an editor can simply grab that 60-second cue. He's got a 60-second commercial. He can bring it in. He can quickly listen to the arc of how you've cut your 60-second commercial. He can listen to the arc of it. Now, obviously, he's going to then go in and he's going to grab the stems. He's going to recut it so that it's, a little better, so he's actually using the theme. But that's a great way for you to get the audition, at least audition for that part. Because if your song is 3 minutes and 30 seconds long, it's hard for an editor to pull in a 3 minute and 30 second long track and really get a quick feel for the arc of it in a 30-second commercial. But if you have a 30-second cut-down mix, you can quickly pull that in and just see how that arc is working with the commercial, whether or not it's even, if he's going to venture down the road of pulling in your and trying to edit your track. All right, does that make sense? What's that? Yes? Okay, thumbs up, okay. All right, cool. All right, I have a question here. Awesome, Mike. For your cut-down, so the question is, I'll read it to you. The question is, for your cut-down mixes, do you let the last note ring out at the end, or how do you handle that? That's awesome. So, this gets a little deeper into actually how I build my tracks. So actually what I do is most of my tracks, I always have two types of endings on them. These are getting into like my secret stash here. If I'm doing tracks, if I'm doing a track and I'm doing like an instrumental track, an instrumental piece of music, and my ending is da 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 da, I just let it fade out. After it fades out, as I'm tracking it, then I always do a pop. I always do a hit. The reason why I do this, or if I do the opposite, maybe I'm da 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 da, I give it a couple of seconds, and then play the actual chord and let it sustain. And the reason why I do that is I give the editor the option. He wants to use like just a little short hit, it's there. If he wants to grab the sustained hit, it's there. In the cut down mixes, that's a good question. I usually just use whatever the ending is part of the mix. Because the reality is that for the cut-down mixes, they're never going to get used as the actual commercial. The cut-down mixes are just the audition, right? So that's the way that I approach it. And you'll see this too, as you start experimenting with your cut-down mixes. You may have a track where sometimes you go, oh man, should I do 4 bars of the intro before I go to that A section? Or should I do 2 bars of the intro before? Because you can cut down your songs in so many different ways. So when I do my cut down mixes, I just do whatever I feel is the quickest representation of the actual arc of the song. And then I let them take it in and they actually cut it, and they'll actually cut it to the actual sequence. And maybe they actually want an extended intro, who knows how they want to do it. But I don't really think that's part of it, but I always do have both endings on the actual piece of audio. So, good question. All right, I don't think there's any more questions yet. Right? No. Okay. But keep asking. Third step of the process. This is I call it mastering metadata. Oh, time out. Let's just stop for a second. So going back to what I said earlier, I said, a lot of artists they take their song and they go to the point they finish their song and they just take it and they try and deliver it to a music supervisor. They skip that second step. So you can see already here in that second step. Can you see how much value that is added to your end users? Thinking of your music supervisor, your music editor, how much value have you just added to their job, to be able to quickly grab whatever they need from you, you give them a lot of options. That adds an incredible amount of value. That's how you're going to first start getting those consistent places. You build your career on the consistent places. Right? So, third step. They call it mastering metadata. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with metadata, but I'll give you a basic overview of it. In its most basic form, most of you guys probably have iTunes, right? So if you're in the mood to go listen to, if you want to listen to Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd, you can listen to that song. Let's say you have 10,000 songs in your iTunes. You can start by scrolling all the way down to keys, and you can find Pink Floyd. Then you can go and find the album on the wall, and then you scroll over even more, and it's on disc 1, and then you just got to scroll down to Comfortably Numb. It's a bit of a process, right? Or you can just go over to the search bar and type in Comfortably, and it's going to show up along with any other song in your catalog that has the word Comfortably in the title, right? So you want to find something really quick in your iTunes catalog. Really what you most likely do is you go in and you search the title. That's metadata in its most basic form. Okay? The metadata would be the song title, the artist, the album, and sometimes this stuff shows up that says who the songwriters are. Sometimes it shows up in your iTunes, right? So that's metadata in its most basic form. But when I talk about mastering metadata, you have to think of your end users. Your end users, again, your music supervisors, your music editors, don't forget them. They're actually more important than music supervisors 90% of the time at libraries. The employees who work at music libraries. A catalog of 100,000 or more tracks, right? And think of a funnel. So they're doing a search for a specific type of song. There's 100, maybe 200, maybe 300,000 tracks that they're searching, and they want a song that's going to fit a specific request. So they're going to type in specific keywords. They're not going to type in the song title because they're looking for a song title. They're not going to type in the artist. They're looking for a song. So they're going to type in specific keywords. Maybe they're going to type in, let's say, for example, the scene is a bunch of people out on the beach. It'd be really nice. It's getting cold here, so it'd be nice to be out on the beach. So let's say there are a bunch of people out on a beach playing volleyball and having a party or who knows, whatever it is. They're having a good time out at the beach. And they need a song for that. So what are some words? Think of some words that would relate to that scene. Well, let's think, beach. Instrument-wise, when you think of the beach, sometimes you think of maybe a ukulele. Why not? So ukulele, waves, surfing, bikini, convertible. Maybe they're driving down the highway in a convertible along the beach. you start thinking of all these different words that relate to that scene. And those are the words that they're going to start seeing in, right? They're going to look for songs that represent those keywords in some way. So you want to make sure that attached to your actual audio file are keywords that describe your song. Because in that funnel, those 300,000 songs or so that they're looking at in their catalog, they're going to funnel it down to 10 songs that they're going to audition for that scene. You want to make sure that you're at the bottom of that funnel as many times as possible. If you're just adding in words like happy, upbeat, and fun, then that's like half of the catalog. That's going to be gone immediately. You got to dive into very specific adjectives that really describe the music. Maybe it's a slow song. Maybe your word would be like, instead of slow or sad, your words like melancholy, stuff like that. I have a big PDF sheet that's like 6 pages long, 3 or 4 columns that lists it's like over 750 adjectives and phrases. That whenever I finish a song, I just grab it and I scroll through it. And as I listen to the music, any of the words that resonate with me as I'm listening to the track, I just key it in as one of my. So that's how I ultimately write the keywords for my song. But that's what metadata is. It's the audio, it's the information that's actually attached to the audio that allows your song to be easily searched, auditioned, and then licensed. And so it's one thing also to have the keywords, but you also have to keep in mind, if someone likes your song, you got to have your contact info in there. You got to have all the information of how they get in contact with you. All right? So that's the first step of the process. Yeah. Go ahead. I see your question.
Yes. So you could potentially do that to existing stuff already that we already have out there in the world. We could just go in and put keywords into those things, and maybe that will help get some more.
You should actually have that on every single song you've ever sent out. So I'm going to give you guys a homework assignment to do at some point later, and this will be fun. You'll have an interesting experience doing this. It's very simple. You can do it in a minute. How many of you guys use WAV files? .wav. Like, I assume you guys don't send out like MP3s. How many of you guys use WAV files? Okay. Okay. How many of you guys use AIFF files?
Sometimes.
Okay. This is awesome. All right. So how many of you guys have iTunes? Like, how many of you guys can go and grab your laptop and open up iTunes? Okay, cool. Perfect. All right. Do this. When you're sitting in front of your computer, if you know how to convert a file, just grab any song that you have in your iTunes catalog. Okay? It can be a song you wrote. I don't care. It doesn't matter what it is. There's no bearing on it. Grab any song that you have. Find out what it is. So if you do the little, Command I and you see it's a WAV file, go into iTunes and convert it to an AIFF. Probably know how to do that already, but convert it to an AIFF. That way you'll have a WAV file sitting here, and then directly below it a copy of it as an AIFF file. Okay. But then go into you can do Command I. It opens up a whole information box. This is how you get into the metadata. You can input like composer and comments and all that stuff. And in the comment section, under the composer section, whatever, just start writing in stuff. Doesn't matter. Hello, it's a wonderful day out today. Whatever. Just put information in there. Okay, and make sure it's the same on both of them. Okay. Then take those files, pull them out of iTunes, and put them on your desktop. And I'm telling you this because this is what you would do if you're sending a friend or someone, an editor, a music supervisor, your full resolution file. You're going to send them the actual AIFF or the actual WAV file, correct? You're not going to send them MP3s. No crap. So you're going to send the actual AIFF or WAV file. So put those on your desktop. Then delete them out of your iTunes. If you hit delete, it'll say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Just get it trash. Then grab both of those files again from your desktop and then dump them back into iTunes. Here's what's really interesting that you'll learn. You'll learn that the WAV file carries none of the metadata other than the song title. The AIFF file carries everything. WAV files don't carry metadata. Using a WAV file is one of the worst things you can do in the world of music writing.
Okay.
Files to people, all the stuff you added to it disappears. So I'm telling you to do that so you can actually go do it. You can see it for yourself. But if you've been sending WAV files out to people and then wondering why you're not getting any placement, that's the reason why. Because WAV files, unless you actually attach metadata through a third party, becomes a whole other ordeal. You can attach, they're called ID3 tags. Attach an ID3 tag to a WAV file, but you have to do it with a third party application.
Yeah.
Have fun. So just use, yeah. Go ahead, first row.
Yeah, I'm wondering, so I do have a publisher and a publishing deal, and I send them WAV files, and I do the normal like instrumental mixes and the full track and whatnot. And
Cool.
I'm wondering if sending that, if they're just doing their own metadata regardless. You know, they listen to the track and do their own thing.
Okay, so here's my question to you. Who cares the most about your song?
My mom.
All right. So my theory on this, that's true. I think my mom cares more about my music than I do. But my theory on this is that the reality is that no one cares about your music more than you do, because when you're actually getting it out there and you're trying to monetize your music, no one cares about that more than you. And the reason why I personally would never, I would never put my career in the hands of maybe some intern who's working at a publishing company, counting down the minutes so they can get off to work and go out drinking with their friends, who's sitting there and their job is to input metadata on songs. I would never let someone else do that to my music, simply because I want to be in charge of the entire process until I can no longer be in charge of it. Metadata is, while it is the most boring part of the process, can be done in 10 to 15 minutes. And I think that the reality is, if you're writing the music, you may have some ideas as you're writing it. I know that I do. I know that when I'm writing music, like for example, if I'm working on something, I might have a thought of a particular band in mind. Well, this is like Foo Fighters kind of thing, you know. So in my keywords, I'll attach artists that I'm thinking of as I'm writing it. Foo Fighters, yes, kind of a Foo Fighters rock tracker. You know what I mean? And I would be very hesitant to have someone else make all those decisions for the song. I think that publishers are great as far as getting it out there and working it, but I feel that no one's going to be more meticulous in the metadata personally than I would be on my own song. Sure, go ahead.
So my question is, so in the metadata, you want to include your lyrics, like all of your lyrics for the song in the metadata? No. So this is so a lot of times. So this is a little different than publishing. So I live in Nashville now, obviously. In Nashville, every publisher wants to read lyrics, and that has nothing to do with. So I see that a lot with artists that I work with here. You know, always doing the lyrics. That has zero relevance in the world of licensing, because in the world of licensing, it's really the emotional impact of the feel and the vibe of the song that impacts the scene versus your lyrics. The other thing is, if your song is this long, here's your intro and here's your outro. 0, 3 minutes and 30 seconds, right? So there's your length. They're going to use this snippet right here. So it could be 1 or 2 lines, you know what I mean? And really, it's just about capturing the vibe of what the music and the lyrics mean. So to me, the most important aspect of licensing, of metadata, is all about the descriptive words, not the actual lyrics. What are the adjectives that describe this song? Who are the artists that this song is in the style of? And that's something that I'm a big advocate of not passing that on to someone else to do. If it was a big chore, you know, I would understand that. But it's not that hard to listen to the song 3 or 4 times and write out adjectives and words and phrases and artists and anything that resonates with you about your music. If you have a certain scene, if I'm listening to the song and it's like a certain scene, then I might think of all the words in that scene that would relate to
And it's not uncommon for my metadata to have 60 or 70 keywords at all. You know, it's pretty detailed. Yeah, back row.
Do you separate the words with like commas, or does it matter?
Yes.
Commas?
Comma.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, I mean, you don't even have to. So that's a great question. Let me actually answer that in two parts. The way that I do metadata is in two different forms. Actually, if I'm inputting metadata through iTunes, then I don't, because iTunes is almost like Twitter, where you only have a certain amount of characters that you can input through iTunes. So all those commas will actually take up characters, and you can get one or two extra words. Get the one or two extra words, because that's better. I also work with a number of music libraries that administer my catalog at this point, so I don't have to do that anymore. And all of those music libraries use a platform called Source Audio, and I was going to get into this a little later, so I'll touch back on this. I don't want to go down this road yet. They use Source Audio as the platform that houses their catalog. And so I have a spreadsheet that I fill out that automatically populates all the categories in Source Audio. You turn that Excel file into a .csv file, and it'll automatically populate everything. And in that instance, because of how you're doing it, yeah, you're going to do the little commas. But there's really no character. So, yeah. Good question. So it really just depends on which avenue you're doing it. You're delivering your music directly to a music supervisor, directly to a music editor. Absolutely imperative that you add the metadata onto your audio file. And then, again, like I said with that example, with the waves and the AIFFs, unless they specifically ask for a wave file, always send an AIFF. Because the wave file will pick out all the metadata that you took a lot of time to fill.
That was even true when I bought this USB from Spalding's concert last week. She's like selling her music on it, and I put it on my computer, and they're all WAV files. And everything, like there wasn't any information, and I had to go and put it in there. And I was like, "Your label didn't even know that." I don't know. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the thing. That's the deal with WAV files. It's WAV files. I mean, you can look it up, do all the research you want. It's, you know, I'm not making it up. It's the WAV files do not store metadata. They just don't. It's part of the file format. So the only way to get metadata on it beyond the title is through a third-party plugin. So you can add it, but then a lot of times you may have seen this too. Again, getting off topic, it depends how deep into the production thing you're. Sometimes you might see a WAV file with a weird attachment. Also, like in your email, like it's like .wave, and then you have an extra little weird thing .something else. You know, that .something else was because, and maybe it's just because me, because I work with people who are editors and stuff like that. That something else is that actual plugin that they added the metadata with. Does that make sense? So sometimes you see a WAV file with a .something else in your email, like almost like a weird text file or something like that. That's the other piece that got attached to it that's going along with it. Listen, it's better just to be simple. Just use an AIFF file, unless you specifically ask to deliver something else. If you're asked to deliver a WAV file, then take your metadata and put it in a text file and send it along. So that way they have all the metadata that you've already created in case they want to use it. Okay? That's what I would do. Yeah, in the back.
And so I know you use a different system now, but would you just use iTunes to like put the metadata in? Is that cool? And then just export that file and you send those off? That's all good?
Yeah. So one of the platforms, iTunes is fine. There's a program called SoundMiner, and if you could compare the two, SoundMiner would be like Pro Tools or Logic, some big DAW, and iTunes would be like GarageBand, right? iTunes is somewhat limited. SoundMiner is, you can compare it. The difference is that to buy the version of SoundMiner that allows you to actually add all the metadata is like $899. So you can go down that road, but I've never gone down that road. I've always just done it with my iTunes, and it's been more than fine. Excuse me. Because I get very specific on the terms. I don't fill up my terms with happy, upbeat, and fun. Those words don't need to exist in your metadata because out of 100,000 songs, 50,000 are going to have it, right? So why waste the character space with those few words? You know, I try and hone in on the meat and potatoes songs, meat and potatoes words, because those are the ones that are going to bring you down to the bottom of that song. Okay. So a lot of it's just being a little bit more judicious in what you're choosing to use for your metadata through iTunes.
So what's the character limit then? For iTunes?
I don't know what the character limit is. It'll stop you. You just keep typing. It won't let you type in anymore.
Yeah.
You can do it. Just open up your iTunes, go through it, go to your comments, and go. It's like 5 rows down, and halfway through it just stops.
County?
Okay, so that's metadata. Now, metadata can get very involved, but you see how steps 2 and 3 now are immense value for your end users. Right? So it's easy to take a song and just send it out in an email to a music supervisor or a music editor if you like a show that they're watching. And yeah, you might get a placement on it. Awesome. Maybe because they listen to it, and you send them a streaming link, and they're like, oh, that would be perfect for what we're using now, and they ask you to send them the song, and they already put it in a folder knowing that they're going to license it for that song. License it for that film. But it's all at steps 2 and 3. Steps 2 and 3, that's what gives you that consistent placement. Step 2 gives you all those nice versions that you can send in. Step 3 gives you all the great metadata that allows your songs to be searchable, auditioned, and then of course licensed. Right? Step 4 of the process, just because I'm trying to find a cool name for it, is simply get your music heard. And by getting your music heard, I basically refer to this in 2 ways. There are a couple of different paths that you can get your music heard. There's really 4 of them. The first one is direct to music supervisors and editors. Okay, and that's going to be your direct channel. You've done the research. You were sitting at home one night, you were watching a TV show, and you think, oh my gosh, I have a song just like this music. It's perfect for this show. For you to take 5 minutes and get online and find out who the music supervisor is. I'll tell you how to do that in a couple minutes. and deliver your music to them. Basically, like send them an email with a link to your music, and I'll go through that process in a minute. So that's step 1 is direct to music supervisors and music editors. And don't forget the music editors. They're so important. People talk about music supervisors all the time. The majority of your placements are going to come from music editors. So they're going to be your best friend. The second way to get your music heard is through exclusive music libraries. When you work with an exclusive music library, it's basically like working with a publisher. Okay? They basically become your publisher. If you're an artist and you sign with a big publishing company, they become your publisher. They give you a certain amount of money each year for your contract to write music for them, and they own the publishing on those songs. And then, of course, they do what they can to work those songs and generate revenue in various capacities from those songs. That's basically an exclusive deal as an artist. An exclusive deal as an instrumentalist or in this world, licensing, you're working with an exclusive music library. They're basically just a publisher. The third avenue would be non-exclusive music libraries. And this was very popular for quite some time until technology caught up. And what I mean by that is non-exclusive companies, generally what they do is they retitle your music. Okay, so for example, I have a water bottle here, and I have like my light clicker. Okay, so I got my light clicker and my water bottle. If I have one song, I can give that song. I'm going to call it Cell Phone. My song Cell Phone. That's my song. I'm going to license it to Company A. Non-exclusive Company A. And Company A is going to take that song and they're going to call it Water Bottle. And they're going to send it out to all their people and work it and try and get a placement on it. And if they get a placement on it, it's going to be placed under the song Water Bottle. They're going to collect publishing on the song Water Bottle. You're going to collect your songwriters on the song Water Bottle. It's the exact same song. There's no difference, just a different title. Okay? But what a lot of people would do then is they then go to Company B. And Company B is the exact same song. Company B calls it Light Clicker. Right? So now you have 3 songs. The exact same piece of music under 3 different titles. Cell phone, Water Bottle, and Light Clicker. And let's say Company B then, they're out marketing it to their people. They get a placement on Light Clicker. Okay, great. They're going to get the royalties on Light Clicker. You as the songwriter, you're going to get the songwriter royalties. They're going to get the publishing. You have these other companies working your music, collecting all the money. So as a songwriter, you think this is fantastic. Right? So here, and it was through the mid-2000s until the Shazam technology caught up, and these programs can actually hear, when you register your music, that they can actually hear by, like the Shazam technology. I don't know what they call that. But what happens, here's where the problem is. Company B gets your song licensed. It's a featured vocal placement on a primetime network TV show, and it should be generating like $2,000, $2,500 in a royalty for its performance royalty. So what happens is that the company that audio technology sends that publishing money over to Company B for law. So these guys get money that they're not owed. These guys are going, what the heck? Where's my money? And it causes a big issue. And it ultimately reflects back on you. And it's a quick way to kind of burn some bridges. I've seen it. I've never experienced it, fortunately, but I've seen it. I did have one instance that was similar to that. What happened, I'll just tell you the story. What happened was a show called Amish Mafia, I think it was Amish Mafia, was using a particular piece of music that they didn't have access to. But there was a hard drive that was connected to one of the edit bays that wasn't supposed to be connected to it. And they were pulling music from a different library that they actually didn't have a deal with. And what happened was that technology, our publisher picked up on it, that production company, so it sent up a red flag. And then they reached out to the production company. The production company didn't have any money left to buy the music. This was actually a pretty big deal that affected a lot of different people as well. And so then there was like potential lawsuits of, well, you've been using this music that you didn't have the rights to. You didn't actually pay any upfront fees. Well, yeah, they did. They paid a completely different production company the upfront fees. But it took about a month. But then there was a hard drive that was connected to the edit bay that had other music that should never have been connected to that edit bay. Just things happen. So fortunately, that was a close, but it was a bit of an issue for about a month. Lots of phone calls, and trying to figure out how this could have happened. Because I'm thinking, did I send that song out to someone else? And I mean, how did that happen? And fortunately, a lot of yelling for a month too. It wasn't good, but you can see how sometimes we're from honest. Those are also at this point going to be the lower dollar ones. There are companies that still do it. But most reputable production companies, editors, supervisors don't deal with that. All right, so just heads up on that one. The fourth avenue to get your music out are royalty-free music libraries. And you may have seen this. This is like where, like if you're getting married and something like that, and your videographer wants to find some music for your wedding. They'll go onto these royalty-free music libraries and they'll spend $15 or $18 or $20 for a piece of music. To put underneath the video. And a lot of student filmmakers do this, etc. And basically what happens is it's just exactly what it says, royalty free. You don't get any royalties. If it's a $20 buyout, then that company will send you $10. But it doesn't matter where it was placed. No royalties. That was your payment, $10 forever on that, even if that turns into something big. You made $10. So the first two are the ones that I'm a big advocate for, that you can be very successful with. The third and fourth are the ones that you may have a little success with it. You know, you might make enough to go out and buy a friend or two some dinner. But you're not going to build a consistent career on those. So those are the avenues of doing it. Now, as far as reaching out to music supervisors and music libraries, so we're just going to focus on the first two, right? Here is a great analogy to think of. If I was to send you an email, let's say that we don't know each other, but I know that you live down the street from a really nice steak restaurant. It's going to be completely ridiculous, and you're going to see how ridiculous this is in a second. But you live right down the street from a really nice steak restaurant, and I know that you live down the street from a nice steak restaurant, and I really want to go try out that steak restaurant. So I send you an email. I go, hey, I'm Michael. You know, I saw, I don't know. I saw you at an event the other day, and I walked by and I waved, whatever. I know that you live right down the street from a really nice steak restaurant. Right now, I don't have any money. But I'm a great conversationalist, and I know a lot of what's going on in the world, and I would like to know if you'd like to take me out for steak at that nice steak restaurant. Like, if you got an email like that, you think it was the most ridiculous thing, and you would delete it. You might show it to a friend or two and laugh, but then you would delete it, and you'd move on with your life, right? Yeah, raise your hand, yes, no, yeah, okay. It's absolutely absurd. All right. But I did that for a reason, because most musicians... And I have seen so many emails that my friends have sent. They're like, man, I'm not getting a response. And well, show me what you sent. And their emails are something along the lines of, this is who I am. This is where I grew up. I played this band for a certain amount of time. We just made a record. And I spent a year working on these songs. I really like them. I think they sound great. And we would love to get into music places. And that's their email. And it's all about them. Has nothing to do with the end user, the person who's receiving. Okay? So now, flip the script for a second. Imagine that you are a music supervisor, and your job is to get into your office, and you have to, find, search, and then license maybe 13 or 14 tracks that day before you have to leave, and then go pick up your kids from school and take Johnny to soccer practice, and then go home and whatever, hang out with your significant other and whatever, and live a normal life. How much value would an email like that bring to your job? None. It would be a complete waste of time. There's no value. So when you approach music supervisors or music editors, music libraries, whoever your end users that you're going to approach with the music are, you need to approach them with basically 5 sentences, not like, a 20, a sentence email or, 4 paragraphs about your life story. 5 sentences is all you need. You're a fan of the show that they're watching on, that they're working on. You watch the show that they're working on and you're a fan of it. Because you should actually have done the research and you should know what they're working on. If they're working on a show right now that they're using a lot of like John Mayer and Sheeran music, then you shouldn't be delivering them 80s Motley Crue style music, right? It's completely ridiculous. These are extreme examples, but they're to make a point, because if that music has nothing to do with what they're working on right now, it also shows them that it's kind of like the Van Halen thing back in the day. They had, like no Brown in. It wasn't because they didn't like Brown and Hips. They included that in their rider to make sure that people actually read the rider. It was like 3 or 4 pages deep. And that was their first telltale sign of whether someone actually read all of their requirements in their rider. And it's kind of the same thing. You get an email with someone sending you some 80s Motley Crue music, and you're working on a show that has nothing related to that. No one's paying attention, obviously, to what you actually do. So why should you pay attention to that? All right. So watch the show. Watch what they're working on. Make sure that your music fits. Hey, I know you're a fan that you're working on the show. Blah, blah, blah. Let's just say, for the sake of the example, that you're hearing a bunch of John Mayer, Ed Sheeran type music. That's kind of all the same, right? Let's say you just did a record and you say, I noticed that, I love the way you're using some Ed Sheeran music, or I noticed you use a lot of John Mayer, Ed Sheeran, however you want to phrase it. Okay, you're basically just showing them that you pay attention, that you know what they're using. I've included a link to two or three, not your whole album, 2 or 3 streaming links to songs that you think would fit that shout. You're actually doing the homework. So I've included, below are two or three links to, these songs. They're very much in the style of what you're using. Again, phrase it however you want to phrase it. I own the master and the sync rights. This is an important sentence. Because what it does is when someone licenses music, every piece of music that's on CD or that synced picture needs 2 licenses. It needs a master license and a sync license. The master is the license that is signed by whoever owns the actual physical recording. So if you're an artist and you're on a record label and they paid for your record, that record label owns your master. Right? If you have a publishing deal, your publisher owns obviously they own the publishing. The sync license goes to whoever controls the publishing, or whoever controls the copyright, that's the publisher. So think of your sync license, that's to whoever owns the publishing. So if you own the master and you own the publishing, that's an important sentence to add. Because what that lets them know that they can take care of a license on any of these songs that you're singing with one simple email, with one simple master sync contract, literally in 5 minutes, right? And then, of course, let them know that your songs are fully metadataed, they're even searchable and whatnot. Again, so you've added that, a lot of value, and then your 5th sentence is all the valuable content. I also have, a instrumental mix, a stripped down mix, and stems readily available, right? 5 sentences. Every sentence added immense value to them. Had nothing to do with it, right? They can read that email in about 10 seconds. They can see if you know what you're doing. They can see that you are aware of what they're doing, the style of music that they need. You have the style of music that they need. Your music is easily licensable because you own the master and the sync rights, or if you don't, you can include the contacts, okay? But they know who to contact, okay? And then you have all the metadata taken care of so that they can ingest it into their catalog, whether they're using SoundMiner or iTunes or whatever, and they can search it down the road. And you also have other versions that an editor can edit between them, like I said. It's win. You've given them immense value. 4 steps. Steps 1 through 4 will generate consistent placements for the music. All right, question.
I have a question.
Pardon? Yeah.
So if you have a licensing agent already, is it chill to approach music supervisors and music editors and stuff like that, or would you recommend not doing that, or should you mention in your email, I have a licensing agent, but I'm just reaching out anyways, or how do you handle that? Okay,
so great question. So I'll tell you how my situation, you can pull from this however you like. Okay, so I administered my catalog for a long time. It got to the point to where I was spending more of my time administering it than I was creating it. It just kept growing. I kept ending up with a catalog. To where I finally had to hand it off. And I work with 3 companies right now. I have a trailer company called Sonic Trimmer, and you guys can check us out at some point if you want. But Sonic, SONICTREMOR, not TRINER, SonicTrimmer.com. And we specifically do movie trailer music. And that is administered by a company called 5 Alarm Music. And then I have a second thing, which is all my commercials. That's administered by a separate company. If I'm writing a piece of music that I know is good for a commercial, then I'll send it that way. And then anything that's not trailer or commercial, that goes into another thing called Records Room, which is administered by a third library company called 411. And that's like all my vocal songs and pretty much anything that's not trailer or commercial. Like commercial meaning like TV commercial. If I was to write some vocal songs with people, all of that stuff goes in. But my partner and I, my writing partner and I, with Sonic Trimmer, I'll give you an example. We actively promote the brand. constantly. We have an email list of about 3,000 editors and supervisors that we reach out to probably every, 6 weeks or so. We craft a really nice email, make it look all nice with cool photos and stuff. And we have updates in there. And, like we got a big trailer, then we thank the company that gave us the trailer placement, et cetera. So if we got a video game thing, we maybe link to the thing, the YouTube link for that little trailer there, whatever it is. We're doing that to always stay on top of mind, and we're always trying to market the brand, right? Now, granted, we have a company that takes care of all the licensing and all the admin for us. But the way that we approach this, and the way that I'm going to approach it, this is a mistake that a lot of musicians, they think that I'm working with the library. I see that there are questions coming up. I'll get to those. But they think that when they're working with the library, then they wash their hands clean, and then they have to just walk away and they can't do anything. And nothing could be further from the truth. It's the same thing as saying, like, if I was an artist and I worked with a record label and this record label put out my music, would I go, well, it's their responsibility to go out and promote it. I'm just going to sit home and collect the money. This one is to go to home and try and make a video. No, you don't do that. You go for it. And you make videos for it and you promote your record. You're not selling it out of your trunk. It's going to a record label. This is the exact same thing. Okay? So when we're marketing it, if we get a phone call or someone says, hey, I get emails from editors and stuff like that fairly often about this is what I'm looking for. I'll go quickly through the catalog and I'll see what I think works and I'll send it to them. And if it works, then I just simply get on the phone with there's 4 people at our trailer company that I can call up at any time and get on the phone at any time. And I can call them and say, hey, listen, this guy, here's his number, here's his email, whatever. He likes this track. He's thinking about licensing it for this thing. Not only did I secure the deal for us, I just made their life easier. Right? Holy crap. Man, Mike's awesome. I didn't even have to do any work. We're already getting this license. He did all the work for us. Yeah, you should always be working with catalog. That's why when it goes back to what we were talking about metadata earlier, you should always be doing your metadata. You should never stop promoting your music. Instead of as these libraries, as like, oh shit, they own my music, now I can't do anything. No, they're your partner. You partner with them. I will tell you, if you're working with a company where you log on and you have to sign in and you're some random number and you just upload your music, there are some very popular companies like that. That's complete garbage. That is I'm so anti that approach. Because you're not actually making a connection with anyone at those companies. Those companies are music collection companies. They collect music. They license out blanket licenses to all these companies. They pay little bits on the well, they don't pay you anything because they collect all the blanket licenses. Most of the time, if you get those contracts, they'll pay you 50% unless it's a blanket license. Their entire business is blanket license. So they never pay out anything. I'm a big advocate of if you're working with a company, then you should know someone at that company. Just like if you're signed to a record label, you should know who your A&R guy is, right? Okay, so if you're working with a library, you should know who your rep is. You should be able to get them on the phone. You should be able to send an email to, ben@mylicensingcompany.com or whoever, choosing that and be in contact with them. Okay, so yeah, you should always be marketing your music because, and also that just endears you to them too because they're making money from you as well. If I secure a license because someone came to us and we get say a $20,000 trailer license, we have a 50-50 upfront split. That's standard. If I get the deal and all I had to do was send a quick email or a phone call to Mary Lorraine over at our company, and she just has to deal with a couple little contracts that's going to take her 20 or 30 minutes, they just made $10,000. And it didn't take any time off their hands because I was doing the deal. They love, of course they're going to like me because they didn't have to work. So you should always be working with your companies. Always. It's a partnership. Okay? It's collaboration. We live in a collaboration world right now. So if you're not collaborating with the people that who are representing the music, you're not in a collaborative relationship with them, and you need to get out of that and get into a collaborative relationship with someone else. Okay. I saw there's a couple little things here. Let me see if there's some questions here. I missed Mike's question a while back about the. Oh, I did see that. How do I identify music supervisors? Okay, great. That came in about 7 minutes ago. So there's a great website called IMDb, InternetMovieData.com. And if you want to get into music licensing, this is going to be, I'm going to spend a lot of time on this one. You can go to any website, and you can find out so there are two websites that are going to be your best friend, IMDb and LinkedIn. Okay, if you haven't spent any time on LinkedIn, you need to set up an account tonight. And start using it. I've built my career on LinkedIn. And I think a lot of musicians avoid it or just don't get on it, and LinkedIn is a treasure trove of information. One second. So IMDb allows you to go find the music supervisor or the music editor. So important, don't forget that. For any show. Okay, there's a whole series music department for every show. So pick any show, type it into IMDb, scroll down. There's a little heading that says See Full Cast. Click it. It opens up a few pull-down menus. Scroll down for 30 seconds. It's like almost at the bottom. Go always to series music department. That's the list of people who work on the show, on the music side. You can see who the composer is, if they have a theme composer, the guy who did the music theme. You can see who the music editor is, the person to look up on LinkedIn. You can see who the music supervisor is. Another good person to Google and look up. So when it comes to reaching out to them, this is where you can Google their name. A lot of music supervisors have done interviews, and they're real popular. They're like the new A&R, so they're popular people. So you can generally always find something that they've done, like some interview, some spotlight column that was done on them, something. You can find something. Maybe in some trade magazine that shows up on Google, we're talking about it. Maybe they won an award, the Music Supervisors Guild, awards, something like that. Whatever it is, go find something. Go find something about them. Do a little research. Add that to your email in the very first sentence. Hey, congratulations on the award you won for blah, 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 blah. Okay? People always like to be known and appreciated and recognized for their work. So that's a great first sentence. So it shows them that you've done your work. Great job, congratulations on the award, blah, blah, blah. I'm a huge fan of this particular show that they're working on currently. Whatever, let them be recognized. So that's I think that answers the question. How I identify them. Yeah, IMDb is basically it. It's really simple. Find the music supervisor for any show and listen to them. Any other questions? None? Oh my! Can you also talk about how we can identify companies to work with? Oh, okay, it's a good question. All right, so let's go down this road for a moment or two. This is awesome. There are starting in 2008, the record industry took a big turn. Okay, and it was interesting to experience it. I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And it was interesting to see between 2008 and 2010 that supervisors who I used to call them up and go hang out with them and go have lunch with them and go sit at their office and not really spending a lot of time with them. Starting around mid 2008. Because all the record labels they were losing a lot of money. They started recognizing now the value of license. So a lot of labels and publishers started going in that direction. So that role became a very important role. They became the A&R people, right? But a lot of people overlooked the music editors. And then what happened as a result is a lot of music supervisors over a couple years. Because they were getting inundated with so many different independent artists and stuff like that, a lot of them actually stopped working with independent artists and would only start working with live artists. And the reason why is because the libraries, they fully vet the songs. Like when they work with the library, they know that there's not going to be any issues down the road with publishing and whatnot. Someone's not going to come back 3 years later and be like, oh, I was a co-writer on that song and I didn't sign, whatever, that kind of stuff. So that would go back on the music supervisor. Well, now that falls on the music library, right? So they start using music libraries a lot, and of course, as a result, there is a huge proliferation in the music libraries. There's currently over 500 music libraries. And there's a great resource to research all of them. And this was my Bible for a long time. It's musiclibraryreport.com. Incredible resource that is. Musiclibraryreport.com. And it was a free service for a long time. There's a guy who runs it named Mark Munson. And it was a free service for a long time. And then, as it became more and more popular, they had to put a lot more time and energy and effort into that. So now it's a subscription service. And you can get 1 month subscription for $25, $24.99. It is worth every penny. Every penny. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, by the way. It's worth every penny. And if you're interested in walking down this road, go get a subscription to Music Library Report for 1 month. It's really all you need. And then carve out a little bit of time each day to start researching. Obviously, some libraries are garbage, and you can tell right away. Because what it is a lot of people report on it. Think of it as the what is that app that if you have a bad experience at a restaurant, you can type in about it?
Yo. Yo.
Lots of good stuff too, not bad stuff, but you can get a really great overview from other composers and their experience with it. We've left comments on various companies we've worked with over the years, and because it's a community of composers, helping each other out, looking for the best outlet. So a lot of times people will ask me what library should I work with, and I always refer to that's similar to asking me who you should date, because I really have no idea. Okay, what works for me is not going to work for you. Earlier I was giving you the example of 3 outlets. And each outlet I have, the trailers, the commercials, and the regular section, each outlet is represented by a different company. Now, that's very smart, because each one is focused on that issue. So you have to figure out what's working best for you, what avenue works best for you, and then find a partnership with the company, a partner with you, and that believes in your music and that believes in what you're doing and wants to represent you. That's a big thing. So that's, again, in the 4th step, when you're reaching out to music supervisors and music libraries and music editors, in your approach to them, you always want to bring value to them. Those 5 sentences is really all you need, And some companies are like, no, we only work with female singer-songwriters, and you're doing like a male hip hop thing. Well, obviously that's not the right company for you, right? Why would you want to, if you're doing hip hop, why would you want to partner with a library company that's specifically specialized in female singer-songwriters? So Music Library Report is the mecca for finding your dream company to work with. So that's the outlet that I use. I've been doing it 14 years, and I've worked with, ironically, in my entire career, 14 different companies. And initially when I was starting off, I did the non-exclusive stuff initially back in the mid-2000s until the technology caught up, and that started becoming a bit of a negative thing. And so I pulled all my music out of those catalogs, started finding other avenues. So I spent a lot of time into researching and meeting with each company that I'm with. I know before I signed with each company, I knew and met with people there. I didn't know them ahead of time, but I had reached out, and one of my latest deals I signed while I lived in Nashville. I called back and forth, and then I hopped on a plane. I flew out to LA for a couple of days and had a meeting with them. Met with the president, met with 3 or 4 of the other employees there, and that's when I decided to sign with them. So and it's a business. If you can't get on a plane and go down to LA and actually go meet with people, it doesn't cost that much money. It's a business. You're starting a business. It all comes back to, music licensing in one form or another is the music publishing business. Even though you're an individual writing the music and reaping the rewards of it, you're reaping the rewards because it's business based on the foundation of music publishing. Right? And the whole idea of music publishing, the whole goal of music publishing is to exploit the copyright. And by exploiting the copyright, that's actually getting the song out there and generating income. So that's what music licensing is. There's a couple more questions here. Can you also talk about how we can identify companies to work with to publish our music? I think I just did that one. I've been told that supervisors only like links to box rather than drama. Okay, never attach. Never attach music. I actually like SoundCloud. I know some people don't, but I like SoundCloud because it links really well in an email. For me, at least, it does. So anytime I send something out, we have our own SoundCloud page. I'll just grab a SoundCloud link to a particular song that I think is working and shoot that over to them so they can quickly stream it that way. And actually, when we actually do files, I don't use Dropbox or Box. When I actually do file drops, I actually use eTransfer.com. I've never had any pushback from that ever. Candace, if I am sharing publishing rights with someone else, is that a barrier to getting a master or sync license? All right, so great question. Most of my tracks are tracks that I wrote with other people. So there's always going to be multiple publishers. And what I've done throughout my career is if I have some guy come in and we're working, then what I used to have them do is I just have them sign a little piece of paper, a little form that I've created a long time ago, which allows them to administer their portion of the catalog. It doesn't mean that I'm taking any publishing rights or anything like that. It just means that I can basically sign it in lieu of them. And then with the various libraries that we work with, they just sign they basically sign their part of a contract, like a Schedule A. They're like part of my Schedule A, which is a list of all the songs that I'm delivering, which is already housed under my initial contract. Then they just sign their little thing over to them too to let them administer their catalog. So it's never been a problem. Let me see. But now getting the master, let me take care of the second half of that question. Is that a barrier to getting a master? Well, it depends. I mean, the master, the way that I've done it is I've always done all my production. Whenever I write a song, I do all the production anyway. So I've always owned the master, and then whenever I get paid, I just split it with the people that I'm working with. I get paid for what I do with the business, so I keep, pretty accurate track of who I wrote the songs with, and when I get the statement, I know how much is, if I get a front fee, I know exactly how much I'm getting for each specific song. And if that's owed to someone, then I just send them a text for it. Let me get the last question, and then I'll get to it. What's the worst? Hey, have you ever, I don't know where I got the worst. Have you ever vetoed a placement, perhaps on political grounds, or do you necessarily have that power? I've actually had a couple placements in some questionable things, and I've never vetoed it. I guess because I'm not like on a Taylor Swift where if someone hears my music, they're going to know it's me. So I've never looked at it as if some political person is using a track or whatever. There was actually a political movie that I didn't agree with that used one of my tracks. I still collect royalties on it. I think it'd be different if I was like at the level of like a Foo Fighters or a Taylor Swift, where there's the association of the artist with it. But with what I do, even with vocal songs, no one knows who Michael Elsner is. There's some guy living in Nashville who writes music, and that sits in the background. And it's not like I haven't written any number one song that people are instantly going to recognize. If that was the case, I'd probably have a completely different approach to it. I mean, I had one song this last year used on some British show. The title, I think it's like a porno because of the title. but it's on like British TV, so I don't know. But just the title is kind of messed up. It really kind of made me question that one. But yeah, I've never actually decoded anything. Do you necessarily have that power? I believe that I do because I'm good friends at this point with the people who represent my catalog. But nothing's really come up for me to throw it over. I was going to tell you.
Yeah, I was going to ask, so I know from co-writing with other people, the sticky part about having them sign to your Schedule A is if they have an exclusive publishing deal with someone else. So like if they have a so there's a little bit of confusion between number 4 when you said you had the 4 dots under number 4 and 2 said exclusive music library and then non-exclusive music library. That's very different than an exclusive publishing deal and a non-exclusive publishing deal. And so people that have non-exclusive publishing deals are free to co-write with whoever they want, and they can choose to sign a Schedule A with someone if they feel like that publisher can pitch that song better, or have them sign your Schedule A. But if they're signed to Warner Brothers and they've got a full deal, like full publishing deal, like you're going to have a hard time kind of coordinating your the publishing company that works for you, or your own license with Warner Brothers, right?
Well, yeah. So, to a degree. So, I have a lot of friends here, and it just might be different for me because it's where I'm at. But here I have a lot of friends who actually have exclusive deals with very large publishers down on Music Row, and they write country music. For one of my very 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 good friends here, wrote a big #1 hit song last year for a country artist. But he was with Warner Chappell actually, just until recently. Now he actually just jumped over to the same parent company that I'm with, which is Olay. I have another good friend of mine who I write with all the time. Same thing with another large company downtown. And it might be just because they don't do a lot of licensing here, and they know that I do a lot of licensing. I've never had an issue with them. Now, granted, they're not signing their publishing over to anyone else, but there's never been a problem when it came to my company administering the licensing world, because their companies, or at least the national divisions of their companies, are not as invested in the sync world as maybe, say, the same division of that company would be out in Los Angeles. So my experience with that has only been here with people with major publishing deals, and it's not been an issue for me. Granted, I've gone out to dinner with the presidents of their companies, and they've asked me about licensing. So we may just have a little bit more freedom because of that. I don't know. But I've never run into that problem myself yet. Maybe I will. I don't know. I guess, we'll tackle it when it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I think the reality is that for them, they don't have those outlets. And at least in this town, a lot of them are struggling to find those outlets. And so for them to now granted, they're pitching those same songs to artists and trying to get country artists to record them. And not even country artists, they're not really country songs, but country music right now is rock and roll. But since they don't have any outlets, it has not been a problem with using my outlet. It just hasn't been a problem. But again, I think that goes back to what I said earlier. I'm such a fan of the partnership aspect that we get on with people. You should be able to get on the phone with somebody at your company and be able to ask them questions about this kind of stuff and discuss how you're going to work that out. I had a situation come up recently where I got asked by a completely different library company. Actually, I know the girl who owns this library company out in L.A. Her and I have been good friends for a long time. He sent me an email asking about a particular piece of music that they were looking for their particular placement. They were working with a different production company. And I wrote her, I said, I think this would be great, and I just sent it to her. And then she called me. She said, this is great. Actually, the production company loves it, but how are we going to work out this deal? So we talked for a little bit. Then I actually called the president of our library company that represents us, and I got her on the phone. And I explained to her, this is situation. Rather than do a 50-50 split. This company was going to collect the money, and then they were going to send her the money, send her the 50%. So I got on the phone, I had that discussion, then I connected them two, and the two of them got on the phone. You can't do that unless you actually have relationships and you can get the cost. Again, it comes back to business. It's a people business. You know, you got to build those relationships. Those relationships are not hard to build, but you have time and energy. I built that relationship living in Nashville. That was the latest company that I signed with, you know, and I'd only met with them, like, I think I met with them now in the course of a couple of years, 3 times physically in person, right? The first time was when I went over there and had the initial meeting, and then, you know, a couple times that you know, as I went back to Los Angeles for various meetings and popped my head in and stuff. So that whole relationship, for the most part, was built 2,000 miles away. No reason why anyone else can't do that.
I think you missed this question from Mary Bragg. What's the worst payout you've agreed to, percentage-wise, and what do you aim for in the future?
What's the worst payout you've agreed to, percentage-wise?
0.
The worst payout I've agreed to, percentage-wise. Well, I would never do anything under 50-50. Generally speaking, most companies will split the upfront fee, right? You got to give them incentive to work your catalog. Let me give you an example. It's interesting because I know a lot of people who I don't want to give up anything. I don't want to give up anything. Okay, that's great. Let's think of a scenario. Let's say that you keep 100% of 2 songs. Let's say that you spend an entire month working 2 songs, or working your music really hard, and you get 2 placements. So you keep 100% of each one, right? That's basically, we'll just say 200%, right? Let's say the first placement was $250, and the second placement was, I'm talking about the upfront fees. Let's say the second one was $400. So you kept 100% of $650. Awesome. All right. Here's the benefit of working with another company. They have an entire team of employees who all day are fielding calls and working at your catalog. Let's say they get 6 placements. Now, they're going to do 50-50 split on the upfront. And, you know, screw it. Let's just say they get 4 placements. They're going to do a 50-50 split on the upfront fee, right? So basically, you're getting like 200%, right? 50% times 4 would be 200%. So it's like theoretically the same equivalent of what you did earlier. But now they did 4 placements. And let's say for that the first placement they got was $50. And the second placement they got was $200. And the third placement they got was $600. And the fourth placement they got was a commercial for $3,500. So you killed yourself for that month getting 2 placements for a total of $650. You gave another company your catalog 50% what they're getting. They're working it. You were able to come into your studio and work and not worry about any of that kind of stuff and not get caught up dealing with contracts and all that stuff. You just have to continue writing the music that you want to write, creating valuable content, and doing your metadata, and getting it out and just doing that over and over and over, going through the 4 steps over and over and over. Let's just look at that 4th placement they got. That was a commercial placement, $3,500. You're going to get $1,750 of it. That's not including the previous 3 placements. So you've already trumped what you made on your own. On top of it, now you have 4 songs out there generating back-end royalties for you. I'll tell you, when I made the change, when I jumped from administering my own catalog to working with the library company, now the various ones, depending on who I'm working with, my income exploded compared to what I was doing on my own. My time, I started getting a lot of time back. That was the most important thing. For me, the difference was like this. I mean, I can't even compare it. So the worst that I've ever done was 50-50. I would never agree to less than that. What I aim for, and I'll just tell you what I have, because I got what I aimed for. My last deal was I wanted 50% of the publishing. I felt I deserved it. I felt I had built up my catalog big enough. I felt I built up my credits large enough. So we did a 50-50 upfront on the split on the upfront fees, and we do a 50-50 on the publishing. So theoretically, if I write a song by myself, I make 75. If you look at it as a whole, I'm getting 50%, 100% with the entire song. song, right? So I'm getting my 50% of the song, which is portion, I'm getting 25% of it. I'm making 75% of the income of the song, and I'm getting 50% of the upkeep fee. So that's what I aim for. I don't think I would probably beat that, to be honest with you. It would be different if I was like a Foo Fighters or Taylor Swift level. But I think that's probably the highest that I'll probably be able to do. And that's what I wanted, and I got it. But never less than 50%. Anything less than 50% is garbage. Thank you for my question. Okay. How large of a catalog should you have before reaching out to music titles? Great question. So I gave this example earlier. I worked with a girl. We did a 4-song EP for her. She had 4 songs. That's all she had to her name in the music world. 4 songs. We did 52 placements. So it's not about necessarily the size of the catalog. I believe building the contact, building the valuable content, reaching out to the people who can use the music. You know, I would put less value on the numbers and the quantity, and I'd put more value on the quality of the music and on the quality of how you're presenting it to your end users. Your end users don't give a shit if you got 1,000 songs. Who cares? They want 1 or 2 that are going to be useful for what they're doing right now. So if you focus effort on getting songs to the right people, this requires research. It requires, one of the things I tell people all the time is stop watching TV and start listening to TV. And in the evening, don't sit in front of the TV and watch. Just lay on the sofa, close your eyes, and listen to the music that's going on throughout every TV show, underneath all the dialogue. Just listen. And when it comes to commercial, don't get up and go to the kitchen. Stay there and listen to the commercials, because commercials are where the money's at. If you want to make some good money licensing, you want commercials. Don't ignore those. Don't ignore commercials. Don't ignore music editors. I mean, don't ignore music editors. Music editors are some of your best friends. They're the forgotten people that soon people are going to start paying a lot of attention to. People pay a lot of attention to music supervisors. Music editors are the people who will, a lot of times, start tipping in the music. It's really been the music supervisor's job then to secure the licenses or replace. If the music editor pulls out like a Kelly Clarkson song, that song might cost $70,000 or $80,000. They may only have $100,000 in the music budget for that entire episode, so they can't spend $80,000 on a song. So the music supervisor's job is going to go, okay, well, we can't use Kelly Clarkson, so let's find a pop chick in this catalog, and we have 2,000 songs. Let's find a pop song, a pop girl who sounds like Kelly Clarkson, whose music is in the style of Kelly Clarkson, and also whose song is in like the same tempo and feel and all that stuff of the piece of music that they sent into the scene. That's why, getting back to the metadata, it's important to add in like the artist that your song is in the style of. The artist, and your music sounds like Kelly Clarkson, then you should put Kelly Clarkson in your metadata. By all means, absolutely. Because the first thing they're going to type in is Kelly Clarkson. Get down into that funnel. Then they might get down to 50 songs, listen to a couple, and then they might start, funneling it down even more. Here's some more keywords. They keep funneling it down. So maybe there's like, 7, 8, or 9, or 10, and then they'll start doing some quick spot checking it, see which one's going to work. And they like that one, they'll pull it in. Listen, I've sat with them while I've done this. So I've learned how they'll spot check maybe every 30 seconds of the song, maybe just for 3 or 4 seconds, just to get the feel of the arc of the song. The production, the instrumentation, the vocal, all that stuff. And when they find one that they like that's similar to that, that's a good one. But it's really the editors who do a lot of that initial work. You get it, best friends.
I was wondering if you could explain a little bit about the back-end royalties and, how those work, how they pay out, who tracks it, that kind of thing, and what that kind of realistically looks like for you as a writer.
Oh, that's a great question. You know what I'll do is I'll actually send you guys, I wrote a blog on this just the other day where I actually shared the income on some particular placements, so you can actually go and see what's coming from music. I'll tell you that in a second. I have to look at that up. But as far as the back end, it's really quite simple. You have to be associated with a PRO. PRO is a performance rights organization. That's ASCAP, BMI, or CSAC in America. You can only be associated with one at any time. All right? And those companies, what they do, let's say you get a song on a show. Let's say we got a song today. Today is November 28th, okay? You got a song license today. That episode might not come out until January 1st. Okay, so let's just do simple math, okay? So if they're not going to license a song today, the episode's not going to come out tomorrow. Okay, so you always have a number of weeks. So you get a song license today, the episode might air January 1st. You won't actually receive your first royalty statement until your third quarter, probably sometime in September, whenever your PRO would pay out. Now you'll receive your initial sync fee, your sync and your master fee, depending on how this works. If you're working through a music supervisor directly, then the production company will pay you directly. And that might take, 30, 60, 90 days, depending on how they pay out. Everyone's different, but you can generally count within 3 months, you'll get that upfront fee. If you're working with a music library, they're going to collect that money, and then they're going to pay you out in either their quarterly or, every 6 libraries deal with how they pay out. But generally speaking, you'll get your upfront fees within 3 months. The back end will generally take about 9 months for it to go through. So then you'll get your check on the back end in 9 months. Now here's where it gets interesting. There are different types of placement. You have a background instrumental and a background vocal. You have a featured instrumental and a featured vocal. And you have a theme song. Right? So theme song obviously is going to pay high. Featured vocal means that, let's imagine the scene, a bunch of people driving down the PCH and they're singing along to the song. That's a featured vocal. If they're driving down the PCH and they're listening to an instrumental track and it's quiet and that instrumental track is prevalent, that's a featured instrumental. Obviously, if they're talking and there's dialogue over it and the music's way in the background and it's a vocal song, it's a background vocal. And if it's an instrumental, background instrumental. And they kind of pay accordingly. So we'll basically give it like A, B, C, D kind of rates, right? Then you also have network TV and primetime TV. Network TV pays higher than I'm not in primetime TV, I'm in cable TV. Network TV pays higher than cable TV. Then you also have time of day. If you have a song on a show that airs at 2:30 in the morning, 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning is the lowest rate. Then it works its way up until you get to prime time. Prime time is your A rating, right? And then it goes back down. And it's all just basically based on the time of day that most viewerships happen. So basically the way that happens is depending on when the show's played, and then there's duration. I'm sorry, the last one is duration. 0 to 14 seconds is one payout. 15 seconds to 24 seconds is another. 25 to 39 is another, etc. All the way up to 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And then everything over 2 minutes and 15 seconds is like an A+++. So your payouts are based on that. And when you get your back-end royalties on placement, you'll see that you may have the same song on the same show, but it gives you multiple layers. It's because each one is being played at a different time. Maybe there was a replay at 3 in the morning, right? Or maybe it replayed at, every 3 days at 3 in the morning, so you're watching, some shows replays a lot, and so that's all here. And then it only might play, once every quarter, on prime time. So that would be your main thing, the largest amount. So it's kind of broken up that way. It's broken up by those different factors. Cable, network, time, the duration, the type of use. So that's how that works. And then if they can range anything. I mean, I've had featured vocal placements that are 15 seconds long that pay $800 on a back end, And then I've had back end placements that pay, 30 or 40 or 20. I mean, low. Then you have everything in between. You have a couple $100, $500, $600. It just depends on all those elements. So there is no standard, once you get a placement, you automatically get X amount. No, it's based on all those little things. They all change. You might get a placement on a show that you might get a 3-second placement on a show, followed by 20 minutes later on that same show, a 2-minute placement, and you'll see that there's a large difference between the payout of them, right? Because one was only 3 seconds, and it was a background instrumental, and the other one was 2 minutes, and it was a featured vocal. So, yeah, the differences can be pretty large.
And you rely totally on the PRO to track that, or are you checking along with them in those cases?
So yeah, I have a large portion of my catalog in ASCAP. I'm with BMI now. I made this change over to BMI, but still a large portion of my catalog is in ASCAP. The nice thing with ASCAP over BMI is that ASCAP allows you to track the cue sheets. BMI doesn't allow you to do that. So I still get a lot of placements fairly often through my ASCAP catalog. I'd say I check my cue sheets three or four times a week. I wish BMI would do that. I wish they would allow that. I hope at some point they do. That's my biggest complaint about BMI is not being able to track the cue sheets.
Why did you switch?
Pardon?
Why did you switch?
Okay, this is a good story. Two reasons. I got a theme song on a Saturday morning kids show, and I wrote it with my partner, who's a BMI writer. And they used that show for the theme song, but then they also used it for between 11 and 13 other occurrences every episode. We're in our 8th season now. And occurrence could just mean like bumper or a scene to scene or whatever, and that's what they call that. Like, multiple placements are called occurrences when they show up on those. So every week, every Saturday morning, we have a theme song and between 11 and 13 occurrences. And the difference in our paychecks are, it's like buying a new BMW. That's phenomenal, and it's infuriating because I was the one who got the placement. And I chased this down for quite some time. I dealt with the head of TV and film at ASCAP for probably about 2 or 3 years, trying to figure out when I was going to start catching up on the royalties. And then he finally found out that ASCAP stopped paying on theme songs. If you get a theme song with ASCAP, they will not pay the occurrences. So I was only getting paid for the theme song. David was getting paid and here's the other thing too, with occurrences, if you get like 13 placements in a show of the same song, it's not that song times 13. Let's say it's all the exact same length, 5 seconds or whatever it is, It's not that pay rate times 13. Each occurrence is weighted heavier. So 2 occurrences might pay 2.2 times. 13 occurrences might pay 15.3 times, right? That's phenomenal. So they ASCAP stopped paying it. Then what they did, it's insane to me that they did this. But then what they did is they stopped paying background vocal placement. They at the background instrumental, and I'll tell you how this adds up. I wrote for 3 seasons of a TV show called The Sing-Off, and a lot of a cappella music for that show. And if you ever watch that show, I did seasons 3 through 4. If you ever watch any episodes starting in season 2 on, the first 14 seconds of every episode is a piece of music that I wrote. The first 14 seconds generated around, the background vocal generated around $480 roughly. Every just that one piece, $480 every Friday, not including everything else that popped in. That was season 2. Season 3, ASCAP changed their payouts to where they would not pay background vocals at the background vocal rate. They would now pay it as a background instrumental rate, which meant that same piece of music now paid around $80 some odd. So BMI didn't change any of their rates. So I switched over to BMI because I basically got screwed twice.
How could they do that?
Huh?
How could they not pay that out? If they're collecting the money, how could they not pay that out?
It's their policy. This is not many arguments ensued because of this, but and it wasn't just me. There was a conference. The story. There was a conference with a lot of composers, and people were irate about it. And they had the ASCAP rep and the BMI rep. And people were asking questions, and they were just going off on the ASCAP guy. And BMI guy just got there, and he goes, BMI is not changing their rates, and we have no plans on it, or they're not changing their payout scale, and they have no plans on it. That's all he said, and the guy got a standing ovation. And so here's another story. Like, I talk about reaching out to the top people. Okay, the head guy, the president of BMI, is a guy named Michael Elsner, based out of New York. I was so irate about this that I actually called Michael O'Neill at BMI, and he was the one who got me over to BMI. I called him on the phone. I talked to him for about 15 minutes, told him the whole situation, and it wasn't an easy process, but I wanted to talk to the people in charge. This is fucking ridiculous. The amount of money, the difference is astronomical. I could have paid off my house. It's astronomical what my partner made for me. Amazing. And so I got on the phone with the president of BMI, Michael O'Neill, and he put me in contact with the vice president of BMI out in Los Angeles. And that guy actually called me about 30 minutes later. And he was the guy who took me through the whole process of signing over everything to BMI and becoming a BMI writer. So that's my only complaint about BMI is that they don't allow you access like ASCAP. Only thing I like about ASCAP.
How do the back-end royalties work on like Netflix, Hulu, streaming services where it's?
They come in the same payments.
But what about it's not like prime time versus not. Obviously, that.
Yeah, I don't know how that works on their side of it. I don't know enough of the inner workings of those companies on how they pay out that stuff and how they calculate it. I really don't know. I just know the basics of it's based on. I really don't know how that's working out with those streaming things. I don't know if it's a blanket license that they pay or if they track it somehow and it's like I honestly don't know that. Yeah, that'd be something worth researching, but I don't know everything. I don't know that. There's so much that goes into that stuff. I had coffee with one of the BMI reps here like 3 or 4 months ago, and I was even asking him some stuff that he didn't even know. He's a smart dude. He's in the licensing collection stuff, but he was like, he's so involved with some of that stuff that he didn't even know. Oh yeah, Mary. Okay, so the blog is. Let me. Hopefully I won't disappear. Let me just scroll over. So I'll just tell you this: if you guys are interested, you can go look at the blog. But
I put it in the email when I sent out your information.
Okay.
But we can resend it to you.
Well, let me tell you the actual blog piece to go look up. Let me look it up real quick. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you the title of it so you can read the right one. All right, so I'll give you a quick overview. So you can go. I have a website called mastermusiclicensing.com. You can become a master of music licensing. You go and you read my blogs. Mastermusiclicensing.com, and if you go there and you look at the top, there's a link that says blog. You can click on that. And then when you go there, when you go to the blog page, scroll down to read. It's the third one. And it's called The Magical Cue Sheet and Why It's Important to You. And that's where I talk about cue sheets. I've had a lot of questions come in lately about cue sheets and the role that they play in music licensing. And so I actually discussed that. I actually discussed a couple examples of what some placements actually pay. So you can get an idea of how that works and the role that cue sheets play in this. And if you guys want there's a book that you can download for free. It's 19 pages. It covers most of what we talked about today. It's called the 4-Step Plan to Licensing Success. You can just go to mastermusiclicensing.com. There's a little link there that says free book. You just download it. And it's basically the full overview of. It goes a little bit more in depth than what we did today, obviously. And so there's that. So that kind of is a great overview of the 4 steps and how you can start implementing those 4 steps into your own catalog. And then again, if for some of you guys who just really want to dive into this further, I have a course on it. Again, it's also on the website. You just go to courses and you can see it. But if you're interested in it, I can give you a code. The code is just type in Zoo Labs. When you go to the checkout, type in Zoo Labs, and it'll take $300 off the course. So you can do that and dive in. And the cool thing with the course is I have a whole private mastermind group. We've got about 130 some odd people right now who are in the mastermind group. We're all actively getting into licensing their music, and as well as like Grammy-winning composers and people who are very successful in it as well. So it's a really great group to be a part of. To take the course, and you automatically get to be part of that. That's really cool. Send me an email, I can give you a lot more information about it. But that's a lot of information up there. The blog, I cover a lot of stuff about licensing as well, so you can go through and read a lot of other stuff that you didn't really get a chance to cover today. But really, I created the course and the book. I saw a lot of my musician friends who were just struggling and trying to make a living with their music, especially when I moved to Nashville. A lot of them were struggling and trying to do something. I thought, man, there's such an opportunity. There are over 500 TV shows currently in production. It's amazing the amount of opportunities available to licensing music. If my writing partner and I wrote 24/7, we could never fulfill all the requests that come our way. It's insane. But it's all about delivering value. It's not just about writing music. It's about delivering the music to your end users in a way that allows them to quickly and easily search, audition, and license your songs. Very easily and quickly. And find the right music, Again, the whole process of licensing the music is basically publishing where you're being a service to your end user. And when you're a service to your end user, you're providing them with great music in all the variable alternate mixes that they can use, and with all the metadata that allows it to be searchable in a way that's valuable to them, they're going to keep coming back to you. And that's how you get one placement turns into 10, 10 turns into 50, 50 to 100, 100 to 500. I'm doing it 14 years. I'm right around 2,200 placements. It was quite a bit of a ramp up, to get going and to learn it. But I've been consistently doing around 200 placements a year. So that's quite a bit. And it's a great outlet because I just get to write the music that I want to write. And I can do any style of music. If I want to come in here tomorrow and write heavy metal, there's going to be an outlet for it. If I want to come in tomorrow and sing some a cappella, there's also an outlet for it. If I want to do some great orchestral piece, there's an outlet for it. If I want to have a friend of mine come over and sit back here and write some songs, there's going to be an outlet for it. There's an outlet for, every style. But it comes down to delivering it in a way that's useful, that your editors and the music providers, really your editors, can quickly pull and license and use. I think there's another comment here. Let me see if that's a question or not. And then I'll keep it. Okay, cool. Any other questions at all? Anything? I think I kind of have everything. I shared everything.
Yeah, can I share your email with the folks that attended, and they can shoot you an email to have more questions?
Yeah, you can actually. You can just send me an email, Michael@mastermusiclicensing.com. If you have any questions, that's fine. You can send me one at Michael@michaelelsner.com. They both go to the same guy. And I would encourage you to go download the book. That will cover a lot, and it's a quick read. Most times you go to the bookstore and you buy a book, they have to hit the 60,000 word, criteria to actually publish it. I wasn't going to bother with that stuff. This is really, it's the basic plan, what you need to know to start consistently listening to music. And if you want to dive in deeper, I do a lot of my indie and stuff like that. In the course, I actually how I do all the indies, how I do all the edits, how to make easily editable tracks that editors can use and edit very quickly. So the course goes pretty in depth after we dive into Pro Tools and how the process of being able to create music that's very easily licensable. And then dive into metadata, the metadata module is ridiculous. It's insane how deep we get into that. I show you how we fill out the spreadsheet, how that spreadsheet can then be in-source audio. You see how that is sort of libraries. It's an in-depth. It just depends on how in-depth you want to go with this. If you want to, of course, like I said, there's a coupon. You can just type in Z Labs. It knocks off $300. some tips and like that. By all means, if you have any questions, shoot me an email. I'm happy to help you out. I believe that every musician needs to get their music heard, and there's plenty of opportunity to make a living. So just gotta know how.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll send a follow-up email so they can have your contact.
All right. All right. We'll see you guys.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Bye.